Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts. In today's video, we're going to be making this gift box, treat box, gift card holder. And if you follow the instructions, lift this present, the drawer pops out, and inside you have your space for, I've put a gift card slot in mine, or treats. And push the tray back in, and the present, in my case, goes back down into place. This box was inspired by an Instagram reel that I saw, which took me to a YouTube channel in the name of Lini Trin. I'm not sure if that's the correct pronunciation, but it's LINITRINH, and I've adapted that project. It's quite quick and easy to put together. The only thing I will say is, before you start the project, you might want to give consideration to the 3D elements or whichever element you choose as your pull mechanism. And you do need to make sure that as we get to the mechanism part, in my case, I've used ribbon. Just think about how you're going to secure the ribbon onto your pull mechanism and how that's going to sit on the top of the box. So without further ado, let me show you how I put this project together. The box consists of two parts, one being a tray and one being an outer wrap. My box is going to be 4 inches by 3 inches and 1 inch high. I'm making it this size to accommodate a gift card. I'm going to start by making the tray, and I have a piece of cardstock which is 4 7/8 by 5 7/8, and along each side I'm going to score at 1 inch. Burnish along the score lines. Start with a piece in the landscape orientation, and we're going to cut up the vertical to the horizontal, like so. Take a wedge from the either side of this corner to create our corner glue tab. We'll repeat that process on all 4 corners. I'm going to use tape because this is a pearlized cardstock. This is Centura Pearl from Crafter's Companion in Cherry. I'll go around and add my tape onto all of the tabs. So remove the backing, and we're going to pull the corner round, tuck the corner in, pull up the sides, and we want to get a nice, neat right angle. So repeat that process on all 4 corners. That's my simple tray, and we now want to make the wrap. For the wrap, I have a piece which is 5 inches, and it is 8 1/4 inches long. So it is the width of A4. So I will have a very small glue tab. If you're using US letter size, then use the width of the US letter size, and it means you'll have a larger glue tab. The first thing I'm going to do is create the closed end of the wrap, and I'm going to score at 1 inch. This cardstock is 310 GSM, and I want to make sure that it fits snugly around my tray. What I'm going to do is use my tray to calculate where the score lines on the wrap section need to be. I'm therefore going to take my tray, I've got my wrap piece in the scoreboard, and I'm butt my tray up to the edge of the scoreboard so that it's sitting on the outside edge of the scoreboard. I'm then just going to move it over less than 1/16 of an inch because I want to allow for this thicker cardstock bending round on the score lines. You can just see there, I can barely see the white card underneath. I can see that the edge of my cardstock is just sitting on one of the 1/16 inch notches, which is coming down. I'm going to hold my base in place and move the bottom piece of cardstock along so that the right hand edge of the tray is now, I can now get my score tool in to one of the notches and run it down to the right hand side of the tray. I'm now going to pull up the left hand side of the wrap where we've scored and sit it up against the base of the tray. Move my tray so that the top edge of the tray is in line with an available track. So there's a track here that I can use. I'm going to hold that down, and that is at 4 inches. So I'm just going to move that out of the way and score at 4 inches. So if I sit my tray back on, pull up the side, fold over the top, I can see that that is sitting nice and snugly inside. So I'm going to repeat for this side, pull up the side piece, push my tray up against, move my cardstock until the edge of the right hand side of my box here is in line with a track. That's in line with a track there. Make sure the card is in squarely, and then I can score like so. I'm now going to gently fold this one around so I can see that sitting nicely in there like so. And now I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Flip my box up this way, push the box over. I now know that it's sitting vertical and parallel. And again, line the edge of the box up with a track which is there, and then score. So this small section here is going to be my glue tab. Now it's a slightly convoluted way of doing it, but I now know that this wrap section is nice and snug and my tray is going to fit in nicely. I'll give you the measurements of where my score lines are. So my first score line is on the downward notch just before 3 inches. So I would need to take some cardstock, fold a piece of cardstock over, put the cardstock in the top left-hand corner of the scoreboard, and then butt my piece up at it. That has shifted my base cardstock along, and my first score line is now in line with the 3-inch mark. My next score line is at 4 inches. My next score line, I would need to move the cardstock back, and then it's in line with 6 7/8. And my final score line, I again would need to shift it forward, and it's in line with 8 inches. Fold and burnish along the score lines. I've got my glue tab over on the left hand side, cut up the first vertical to the horizontal like so, rotate and remove that bottom right hand rectangle like so, and then take a wedge from the end of this long tab. Cut up each of the verticals, so we're creating the tab sections for the base. I'm going to remove that score line and cut a wedge from the small glue tab. Move along to the next, cut up the score line, take a wedge from there, move along to the next one and take a wedge. So we've now got our wrap piece cut, and you want to next decide how you want your wrap to glue together before we move to the next stage. So do you want your glue tab to be at the bottom right hand corner so your tray then sits in on top, or do you want your glue tab to be at the top left hand corner? So the process will not change. What it will do is it will determine which is going to be the top and the bottom of your cardstock. I'm going to have mine in the bottom right hand corner, and the only reason I'm doing that is because I've just realised the corner of this piece of cardstock is a bit bashed, and so therefore if I was to have the glue tab at the top, it would be completely the first thing that you see. So as a consequence, I'm going to put my wrap in the position that it's going to sit, and that has determined that this surface here is going to be the top. So if my glue tab was this way round, this is going to be the top of the box. Mine is going to be this way round, and therefore this is the top. I'm going to mark that with a T, so I'm under absolutely no doubt as to, so I've just put a T on the top of there. What we want to do now is add our DSP to the top of this section, because we're going to add some holes, and we want to add the holes through both pieces of DSP rather than one. We're not going to add it to this section yet, so the next thing is to add your DSP onto this surface here. We're now going to put the holes for the whichever method you're going to use to push the tray forward. I'm going to use ribbon, so I will show you that method. If you're going to use thread, which you can choose to use, you can literally thread your needle and just put your thread through the top section through to the bottom section. The placement of your holes will determine how far your box gets pushed out from inside the wrap. The further back you have your holes, the less of the box is going to be pushed out of the front of the wrap. I'm therefore going to punch my holes 1 inch from the front edge of the wrap, which means that the length of my box minus the 1 inch is going to be exposed. I'm going to be using ribbon. This is 1/4 of inch wide, but you can use whatever you have, in all honesty. So I've got my piece laid out. I'm going to use the width of my ruler, which is just under 1 inch, so I'm happy with that. Lay it against the top edge of the box and make a mark with a pencil halfway across in this section here. So this is 2 7/8. It doesn't have to be exact, so I'm going to put a pencil mark at the 1.5 mark and then do the same on this side. So that's my indicators for my hole punch. So I'm going to punch through. So we're now going to add glue to our long glue tab and create the shape of our wrap. Again, I'm going to use tape. So join the two ends together, make sure it sits nice and is joined up and everything's in line, and we can now go ahead and seal the bottom. So I've pushed in the black edge. I am going to use construction glue, although I know this will take slightly longer to dry. Push those two down and then add glue to the base and push that one down, and I'm just going to go in and burnish that down. So we're now going to create the mechanism. I've tried this 2 ways. I'm going to show you the way which I think will be easier, but I will tell you the other method. I've cut myself, this is 10 inches worth of ribbon. Now if you imagine if you're making your tray another size, what's going to happen is your ribbon is going to go through the top hole and through the bottom hole, and as you push your tray in, your ribbon is going to be pushed to the back of the box, and then as you pull the top 3D element or your pull mechanism, it's going to pull the ribbon, and that is then going to push your box forwards like so. So if you make a wrap the different size, you can determine how much ribbon you're going to need. If you imagine the distance from the base to the back of the box, which in this case is going to be about 3 inches, plus you want whatever the height of the box is, so that makes it 4 inches, and then you want the front element, so that makes it 7 inches, plus you need to allow some to attach it to the 3D element and some to run through the back of the wrap and be adhered. So I've cut my ribbon to 10 inches to start with, and I probably will need to cut it down a little. I've tried this both ways. Firstly, from pushing the ribbon without the 3D or the pull element on from the top to the bottom and securing it at the back, but then I struggled to attach the 3D element. So I'm going to start by attaching securely my 3D element onto the end of my ribbon or thread, whatever it is that you're going to be using. I've now secured one end of the ribbon, so this is going to be my pull mechanism. You need to make sure that this is as secure as you can get it. Feed the ribbon through the top hole, like so. Feed the ribbon through the bottom hole, like so. Pull your ribbon so that your top element, pull element, is taut. I'm just going to hold that into place, and then take your tray and slot your tray in. You'll see the length of the ribbon here gets shorter as I push this in, like so. And my piece is still sat on the top. So I can just pull that as tight as I can, and I can now secure this bottom piece of ribbon into place. I'm going to snip that down a bit. All the time you want to make sure that your tray is in at the back and your pull element is sitting where it needs to sit. So I'm going to hold that down, add some glue down here, get that ribbon tacked into place, and then I'm going to add a strip of tape over the top. So you want the ribbon both on the 3D element and coming out the bottom of the box to be secure. So now when we pull our 3D mechanism, mine's not quite dry. The drawer opens like so, and as you push it back in, your pull element goes back into place. And so now this is ready for the remainder of decoration. So I'm going to get on with that and then I'll come back. Here's my finished decorated box. I've added some additional presents on the top and a greeting. I've covered all of the insides. I have used a lift stamp on the front, and inside I've added a gift card slot. And then the box slots back into place like so. So there we have the finished project. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel, and until next time, thanks for watching.